Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in with Corn Fed Lady. So we've got some garden updates today. I'm going to do the voiceover with my baby chicks inside because they're trying to stay warm and dry during the storms today. So if you hear some peeping going on, that's what it is. First up is the potato bed. We planted 10 Yukon Gold and either 25 or 35 of the Kennebec white potatoes. We just purchased these from a local feed store and planted them right into the grass. We put some of that straw over the top and they're already doing great. We do need to put a little fence around that before we let the chickies out with them because it's in their run. Now we have a orchard going on over here. First up is the Red Delicious apple tree. We put a little fence with some mulching around the base just to help them settle in. We planted them right into the dirt. The second one is the Golden Delicious apple tree. You want to make sure that you have two different varieties of apple trees so they can cross-pollinate, otherwise they won't produce fruit. And the third one we planted is just a flowering pear. We don't really care about eating pears much, so we just got a flowering one. We do plan on adding some cherry trees and maybe some more peaches and apricots and whatnot to that orchard later. And let's head on back toward the barrier. Off to the right there is the woods where all the critters hang out. Feel free to check out them critter videos. You can see a little bit of dark mulch on the end there. We had to buy that from the store because unfortunately that big load of mulch from the city still hasn't come yet. So we've still got to go get another load from the store to finish that off. We want to eventually have all that grass covered up in those footpaths. I do need to make a new entrance gate right there. I've just kind of been stepping over those bricks to get in and out for now. This first row here we planted this year. In the first half of it we've got currants. They were bare roots. The first two are Blanca white currants. They're not producing anything yet, but they are bushing up really good, growing a lot of leaves. The next two currants are the red cascade currants. And these cascading reds are actually already producing fruit. So you can see some small cascades that the birds have probably been picking at. I do need to cover those with netting, just like I have with the raspberries and cranberries. But I'm waiting on that because I want to overhaul my netting strategy. But you can see those white currants are already starting to produce, or sorry, the red currants are already starting to produce. The next section has blueberries. We've got two different kinds of blueberries because again they need to cross-pollinate to be able to produce fruit. So we've got the blue ray here, it's already flowering. And then we alternated the blue ray with the blue crop. So the next one you're looking at here is the blue crop. Again, you want to make sure to look up, when you're getting fruiting bushes and trees, you want to make sure to look up which ones need to cross-pollinate, because some of them need different varieties next to them to be able to produce fruit. Here's another blue ray that's flowering, and this blue crop on the end is actually starting to flower a little bit too. So we might get blueberries this year. I'm not going to hold my breath because these were just planted a few months ago. So you see we need to add a second layer of mulch. It's definitely not done. We want to cover up all that green grass and the footpaths. Now here's the bird netting that I was talking about on my berries. I need to redo this. Right now it's just sticks and cups, and you can see the blackberries are starting to poke through the netting. I did chop that off, those ones that are poking through. I chopped those off last night after it quit raining. So they're not poking through like that anymore. Now with raspberries and blackberries, the old growth down there on the bottom is what's producing flowers and berries. The new growth that's poking up through the netting will be what produces flowers and berries for next year. So you can see the top of the new growth, there's no berries, there's no flowers. I went ahead and chopped those off last night so they'll be a decent height to work with. And the ones down there on bottom from last year, those are the branches from last year. They are producing some flowers and fruits. So again, those tall ones are the new ones from this year. We'll chop them off. They'll produce fruit next year. Still have an empty cranberry bed because of the late frost. So we'll have to figure that out later. The raspberries are starting to produce some already too, again, on the old branches from last year. So as you're looking through here, wherever you see flowers and berries, those are the branches from last year. And then the bushy, bright green parts that don't have flowers and berries, that's the new growth from this year that will carry the berries for next year. So there you see some old growth from last year. And it has a raspberry. Trying to get tangled up in the netting there. Again, I'm going to redo this netting. I want to get some hoops instead of sticks that can drape over the bed, and then I'm just going to lay that bird netting over the hoops. So hopefully that'll work better than these kind of sticks and cups that I got going for now. We didn't really expect all these to produce berries yet, and I'm showing you the difference there between the new growth that's bright green and the old growth that's producing berries. But yeah, we didn't really expect any of these berries to produce anything yet, these bushes. So I kind of just threw up this netting makeshift at the last second as I saw them starting to produce before the birds got a hold of them. But again, there's an example of an old branch that is flowering and fruiting in the raspberry bed. The next section has strawberries. We planted 25 bare root strawberries a couple months ago. They've taken well to the ground. We did not put in sand. We did not put in any kind of fertilizer. We just stuck them right into the ground. We're surrounded by cornfields. Our ground is extremely fertile. So we just pretty much plant everything right in the ground, maybe to give it a little handful of compost, and then throw some mulch on top. So you can see some of these strawberries are flowering. Some of them are actually already starting to produce fruit. I think there's a couple little baby strawberries that I point out in here. So we're pretty happy with that. Again, these were bare root a couple months ago. Yeah, there's a baby strawberry right there. It's still green, so it has a way to go, but they are producing. And of course, I'm going to need to cover those up too, or the birds will also peck those to death. So this is another blackberry bed, and again, it is flowering and fruiting on the old growth from last year, and the new growth from this year I chopped off last night, so it's not pushing up on the net anymore. These blackberries and raspberries were bare roots last spring when we planted them. They had a guarantee of fruiting within 2 years, so we were pretty excited to see them start to flower and fruit. This is just 1 year after planting them, so they seem to be happy where they are in the conditions they're in. Again, we just need to finish mulching those footpaths, but this barrier is really coming along. We put in all those bricks, all the bushes, everything that's been done in that section has been done just in the past year. So it's pretty fresh barrier. It's not finished. We do still have a lot of work to do on it. We need to touch up the netting scenario. We need to finish mulching. I'll make sure to do an update on that. This is our peach tree. And as you can see, we do need to thin out some peaches and prop up the branches. This is the first year that we know of that it has fruited. So this is kind of a surprise this year too. Apparently everything wants to fruit this year, which is wonderful. This is a good problem to have on the new homestead. So again, we're going to prop those branches up, give them a little support. We're going to thin out the smaller, weaker looking peaches, and that will allow the peaches that we leave on there a better chance to get bigger and to not break the branches off. So I'll have to do, again, some updates on all of these things as they progress. The flower bed is starting to flower. We've got some sedum coming up, some lilies, that's some spiderwort with some catnip and peppermint. There's some lilac bushes, tiger lilies back there. This is our new trellis that we just put up for the clematis last year. They were already here, but we chopped them down to the ground, put in a new trellis, and they seem to be just happy and spectacular on there. The bush on the right is flowering, the one on the left's got to catch up. So the carrot patch has been doing pretty well. It's getting nice and thick and bushy, as you can see. We'll have to do a harvest video on this too. We planted 4 rows of rainbow carrots, 1 row of black nebula carrots, and on the right of your screen there, which I didn't really show you, there's a row of just regular scarlet nantes, which are orange carrots. The sugar snap peas are doing pretty well too. You see me feeling around on them. What I'm doing there is trying to, not that baby one, on those bigger ones I'm trying to feel and see how big the peas are inside, because I like to pick them when the peas are still fairly small. And the reason being is that they're so much sweeter and just, they're really excellent to eat fresh like that. You can eat them with the pod and the peas and everything, just bite right into it. So you can see with the sun shining through there, there's already some little baby peas in there. It's just about ready to pick. I actually picked those this morning. This video is from yesterday, and I just picked some of those sugar snap peas this morning, and we had them with our breakfast. They're excellent fresh. You can dip them in ranch or something, but you don't have to if you pick them when they're young enough. The middle lettuce bed had a major attack by the mice. So that lettuce has been relocated, and I'll show you that in a minute, with a lot of drama. This bed, we've had spinach and kale and Swiss chard and asparagus. Most of it has all been chewed away by bunnies. You can see that's the blue curled Scotch kale. It got ate up by the bunnies. The Swiss chard is gone. The asparagus is gone. That's some more blue curled Scotch kale that is nibbled down to the ground. There's bunny bath back in there. They've been enjoying themselves because I put in 2-inch hex hole wiring instead of 1-inch hex hole. So this kale in the middle, they've been using it as a bed and not eating it as much. That's called dwarf Siberian kale. So if you want one that the bunnies don't care about, go with that dwarf Siberian. They use it as ground cover, not food. The lettuce bed that got attacked by mice, what they did was they dug out the dirt from underneath the lettuce, essentially trying to kill it. So I relocated some into this flower pot up on top of a post, just as an emergency scenario, and it's doing fine. On the other side of the property, we've got a grapevine going. I chopped it back severely last year, so much so that my husband thought I may have even killed it. But it's making a nice comeback. It's even got a couple of little bundles of baby grapes starting on it. So I'm hopeful to get something from that this year. The wisteria is growing right next to it. It does have a lot of long-reaching tendrils that need trimmed off. Otherwise it gets out of control. It's just now starting to flower. These blossoms, you guys, I wish you could smell them. I wish there was a smell-o-vision, because the scent, the fragrance that comes from these flowers is so sweet and so strong. You can smell it from across the yard. I mean, it's even more intense than a lilac bush. You can see the bumblebees are even drawn to it. It's absolutely beautiful, and it smells like heaven. There's another bit of wisteria growing on the back fence back here by the asparagus patch. It gets a lot more sunshine than the other wisteria, and as you can see, it also flowers a lot more than the other wisteria. So if you're looking to grow wisteria, put it in a super sunny spot. And there's the asparagus patch just below. I did cut that asparagus this morning also, and we're going to give it to my mother-in-law. So back here is the infamous garden patch. If you have happened to watch my chip video, the Pocky chip video, or the corn husk mulch video, this is the patch that we had the tarp covering. And so you can see it killed all the grass just like we had hoped. We've had the tarp off for over a month now, so all these weeds coming up are new. And it's split off in 3 sections. We've got a tilled section in the back left there. We've got an untouched section in the back right. And then this area up in front, we have planted our sweet corn. And the variety that we chose was peaches and cream, which is just a family favorite. We used to buy this when we lived in town off of the back of a pickup truck from some farmer. Now that we have our own property with acreage, we have the space and the sun to go ahead and just grow our own. So we've got, I think, 6 or 7 rows of the peaches and cream growing there. I spaced them out 4 or 5 inches apart. Most of them have come up, some have not. I need to weed it out, of course. Thanks for watching, you guys. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one.